Hey everybody, as we all know, it's been a rather weird week in America and all throughout the world with the outbreak of COVID-19, the pandemic that's currently going on. And so I've decided to make a little bit more of a weird video this week. Of course, I'm Jack Lombardo, and this is Jack's Interesting Facts. However, my facts this week are not quite as 100% hardcore as they are in most episodes. Now, I did continue to do research. I did find a lot of evidence for these stories. However, I chose this week to do an episode where we look at some weird, mysterious, and unexplained stories. So I hope you enjoy these, and I hope they get you thinking and maybe even put a little bit of a smile on your face in the midst of everything that's going on in the world right now. Now, our first story is one of my favorites as far as weird, unexplainable stories go, and it is The Man from Taured. Now, this story takes place in July 1954, and what happened is a Caucasian man, showed up at the Tokyo International Airport, and he looked a little out of place, a little nervous, or whatever it was, so security stopped him, as was the protocol, and decided they checked his passports, his IDs, all this stuff. They said he was a French-speaking man. That was his native language, although he spoke other languages fluently, as well as Japanese, so he was able to communicate well with them. Now, what was weird was when they asked him where he was from, he told them he was from a place called Taured. Now, of course, they had never heard of Taured, as Taured does not exist. However, as they looked over his passport, everything seemed normal. It seemed in order. There'd been stamps. It looked legitimate. And as they questioned him, he was able to give intelligent questions. He was getting irritated that they didn't know where he was from. He couldn't understand why they'd never heard of Taured, because he said he'd been there many times. And they took him in, obviously, for more and more questioning. And as he was in the office, they pulled out a map and asked him to show where Taured was on the map. Now, the man seemed genuinely surprised to see that Taured was not where he expected it to be, between France and Spain, but instead, where he thought Taured was a place called Angora. Now, this was all confusing, but no one was really sure what was going on, so they decided to keep him overnight and question him some more in the morning. They put him up in a hotel. They kept his identification, his passport, his license, whatever there was, in the office, locked it up tight, put him in a hotel room, and put 2 guards outside of his door. And what's more so, they put him on a high floor where it would be possible to leave through the window. Now, as you can probably already figure out, in the morning, when they went to check on the man and bring him out of the room, nobody was there. He was completely gone. They searched all over. They were unable to find this man. There's no way he could have gotten out of the room through the window. No way he could have gone out the door with 2 armed guards. And what becomes even more interesting and confusing about this story is that when they went back for his personal items, his identification, his passport, and everything that was locked up in the offices, it also had vanished. And to this day, nobody knows who the man from Taured was. Some say this is an alternate universe thing. I have no idea what it is. All I know, it is well documented that this actually did happen, and we don't have any answers. It's completely unexplained. Yeah, so strange. From there, we move on to the story of the Berjeva Island. Now, I don't know if it's Bermeja or Bermeja, how you pronounce it, but Berjeva Island was an island outside of Mexico. It's set their economic zone. It was like 200 miles of their outside of Mexico, whatever it were. And this is an island that has been there for many years. Everyone's known about it. It's been on maps since 1669, and it was written about in books since as recent as 1998. It was still on maps in 1998. And then all of a sudden, in the year 2000, people went to go to the island, and it was gone. Now, this is not abnormal in and of itself, as islands have been known to sink, or, with climate adjustments, waters could rise. There's so many, there are things that could happen to an island to make it disappear. But what makes this one particularly interesting is this is the area where Mexico kept all their oil reserves. This island contained 22 billion gallons of oil reserves that belonged to the Mexican government. Recently, they had signed some kind of an agreement with America, some kind of treaty. I don't really know all the details on that. But because of that, some people say that maybe the CIA went in and destroyed the island. We don't know what happened. But the fact is, it could not have sunk With 22 billion gallons of oil on the island, it would have devastated the ecosystem. Everything there would have been destroyed. There's no way it could just disappear. They have done, gone through with experts, searched under the water to try to find the island just in case. It's not there. Berjeva Island has just simply disappeared, and there is no explanation for it. Nobody knows why or how it ever happened. Now, this next story is incredibly well documented, most definitely did happen. And this is the mysterious death of Eliza Lamb. Now, this all went on in February of 2013. Now, Eliza was a guest at a hotel in Los Angeles. And as some video footage showed her. They picked it up on an elevator where she starts getting in and out of an elevator. The elevators have those little cameras up in the corner, so they caught all this. And she looks really nervous. She keeps getting in and out of the elevator, and she's kind of hiding around the corner in the elevator, dodging, just looks really nervous as if she's trying to avoid somebody. And at 1:57 on the camera, I had the time up there, she just suddenly starts talking to somebody, and she starts waving her arms around, her body moving in a weird way, just as if she was, I don't know, there could have been somebody from when you look at the videos, and you can see this video on YouTube. Look up the Eliza Lamb video, elevator video, and it looks like she could be talking to somebody that's out of view, but we're not really sure. But whatever did happen, then she gets back on the elevator, she pushes all the buttons, and now what was weird also about this whole thing, the whole time this was going on, which was a good couple minutes, the elevator doors never closed. They stayed open the entire time as if the elevator was misfunctioning. There's no explanation for that. So then she finally exits the elevator, she walks off, and she is never seen or heard from again, except kind of she was. What ended up happening is a few weeks later, people started complaining in the hotel about the color and the taste of the water, so they went up to investigate, and in the water tower on the roof, they found Eliza Lamb's dead body. She was covered by sand. They said her personal items were there. Now, here's the thing. The water tower, again, is on the roof. The door is locked. The door is alarmed. There's no way to get out there. Now, even if she were to get out to the roof, she could not have climbed up the water tower, as there's no ladder. There was no ladder present. And even if there was a ladder, she was 5'5", 120 pounds. She was a little lady, and to be able to climb so high would have been very difficult. And for somebody to have brought her up there to kill her, they would have had to be incredibly strong to be able to get a ladder up there and her, carry him up, get through the alarm, get through the locks. And to this day, this is still an unexplained, mysterious death that nobody has any clue how it could have or did possibly happen. Now, the last one I want to talk about. Now, this one has probably the least evidence of everything I'm saying, but there is evidence, and I find the story very interesting. Now, it starts out as a story that I really believe a person or some friends could just kind of make up and tell people, and I dodge telling stories like that, but this one does have a really interesting ending that I want you to stick around for. So, these 4 girls claim they were out driving in the desert. They're on a blacktop road. They got lost, and all of a sudden, the blacktop road completely turned white. The desert was gone, and in its place was grain fields. There was a lake or pond, whatever it were, and they were driving along, and they saw this. They were confused. They didn't know what was happening. They said they felt the weather change, and they saw this, what looked like a restaurant, but the writing looked just like squiggles to them. They had no idea what it was. So they went in, hoping to get some help, find out what was going on, and they saw these people from behind that seemed tall and skinny. Eventually, the people turned around and they realized they were not human. They didn't know what they were. They panicked, got the heck out of there, got in their car, excuse me, started driving back down the road. Now, at this point, they say they saw 4 oval-shaped cars start following them. They had 3 wheels, like tricycles, but they were cars. They're driving, and as they were driving, suddenly it just disappeared. They were back on the blacktop road in the desert. And again, this sounds like a story anybody could make up, but here's where it gets interesting. They went to the police, and of course the police thought, like me, and a bunch of kids making up a story. However, they were so persistent that the police decided to go out and investigate. And what they did find is not 100% evidence, but it's strange as heck. They found the tracks of their car, and they followed, the tire tracks. They followed the tire tracks, and what they found was at the exact spot where they said the car just kind of went into this other, whatever it was, into this area, the car's tire tracks just stopped. They just disappeared. They didn't exist anymore. This was recorded by the police, and again, it's something we cannot explain. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this week's Jack's Interesting Facts. Once again, I'm Jack Lombardo. Please click like, subscribe, share this video, and I'll be back again next week with some more of Jack's Interesting Facts. See you then.